The Honda Activa is a scooter that needs no introduction. After all, it has been around for longer than most Gen Z kids, and it is also the company's most successful two-wheeler offering. So it is safe to say that it is the default choice for families. But what about the Activa E, the newly launched electric avatar of the Honda Activa? Does it have the same minerals to be just as successful? And what about the QC1, its quirky younger sibling? Well, these are the questions we will tackle today because we have both scooters, and I will let you know the answers to these very interesting questions by the end of the video. So don't go anywhere, stay tuned and pay attention for the next few minutes. So let's start off with the Activa E first, and the big difference between this and the QC1 is the fact that this comes with two swappable batteries housed underneath the seat, while that one gets just a fixed battery. These are 1.5 kilowatt hour units providing a IDC claimed range of 102 kilometers on a single charge, which sadly is not a great figure. It's definitely lesser than what the competition is offering. And today, while we did not have time to do a proper range test, but when I left the hotel, I found it at 100%. But as we rode it a little bit in the traffic and a little bit on the highway, I was mostly in the standard and sometimes in the sport mode. I also tested the eco mode just to see how it is, and in that mixed scenario, which I think is pretty representative of what you would do on a daily basis, I got a range of close to 70 kilometers, which again is not ideal. You will have to charge this scooter almost daily if you take it to your office, and your office is a little further away from your home. So range anxiety is definitely a problem with this. However, on the bright side, because of the swappable system, you can get a fully charged battery within a matter of a minute, and that is really good because you don't have to wait 4-5 hours to charge the scooter. But because Honda is offering battery as a service, it also means that you do not have to worry about a degrading battery and having to replace it years down the line. So that also takes care of that worry. But the slight niggle here is that there are no onboard charging capabilities whatsoever. So if you're down on charge, you will have to find a swapping station. You can't just charge it at home. I have seen other scooters with swappable batteries that also allow charging. So I think if Honda had given that charging option here, it would have made the scooter much more accessible. And also, you have to pay a monthly subscription to get access to the swapping network and to be able to swap these batteries. Now moving on to the performance, well, you get pretty modest acceleration. It's not the quickest in the business, and the top speed is capped at 80 kmph. However, with my lightweight, I saw indicated speed of about 85-86 kmph. You get 3 riding modes: Eco, Standard and Sport. And the good thing here is that even if you are in Eco mode, it doesn't really limit your top speed that much. Yes, the acceleration is rather lethargic, but you can still get up to almost the top speed figure that the scooter boasts. Now, riding in eco mode is not really recommended because, like I said, it's very lethargic. Unless maybe you're doing a casual stroll at night, then you can put it in eco. But otherwise, I would recommend just being in standard because that gave me a decent mix of performance and of range. But overall, it still lacks in terms of outright performance. Moving on to the suspension, this is one area where I was a little disappointed because of the stiff setup. There isn't enough compression on this unit, especially with my lightweight. So that means that if you're going at, let's say, 30-40 normal city speeds and you encounter a speed breaker or a sudden bump in the road, then the scooter will throw you off your seat. It is very bouncy in that regard and not really a comfortable scooter. But what you do get is a lot of space on this scooter. The floorboard is pretty long, even though this is a bit longer than the QC1, both in terms of the wheelbase and overall dimensions. But I found that both the QC1 and the Activa E have plenty of area right over here, so you can stretch your legs out. Even the seat is pretty long. The QC1 has a slightly longer seat, but for normal usage, you can easily have a pillion with you and not run out of room. So that way you have a very spacious scooter. The ergonomics are pretty sorted, and I did like that aspect of the scooter. I really like the 7-inch color display over here on the Activa E, because right now it's very harsh lighting, but still I can clearly see the display, I can clearly see all the readouts, and everything has been laid out in a nice manner. The UI graphics are also really good. You get your basic things like an odometer, the connectivity options, the battery percentage, and the mode that you're in. All of it you can see right here. If I switch between the modes, that also you can see over here. And if I use the buttons on the left, I can toggle between getting this map. I can also, since my phone is connected, go on to navigation and look for swapping stations. So that is also really good. And then if I want, I can go down, access my contacts. I can also go into a lot of these controls right here in the menu, and this display also comes with automatic brightness setting, and you also have a light and dark theme available on this, so that is also really nice. Furthermore, I also like that if you go into the control section, you will see a layout of all the buttons and what they do, and you can see if you short press them or long press them what all they do. So this is really good, and it's really good in terms of letting the rider know what the various buttons do, as it can be a little overwhelming in some scooters. And then talking about the battery, not only do you get your estimated range and when you last swapped the battery, it also shows you individual battery percentage for the two batteries, what percentage the front battery is in and what percentage the rear battery is in. So that is also really nice. So you can keep tabs on whether one battery has drained more or one battery has drained less, and so you know which battery to swap. And one very crucial thing which Honda gets right is the fluidity of the UI, because in a lot of scooters I've seen, even though you have a lot of features, but the UI is a bit laggy. But in my time with the Activa E, I've not encountered any point where the UI was lagging and it was not really working properly. Now, in terms of fit and finish, this is a very good scooter. All the buttons are nicely laid out. They're of good quality. There's no rickety panels. And you also get these two cubby holes up front where you can keep something, and a USB Type-C charger as well. Sadly, because this comes with the swappable batteries, you do not get any under-seat storage. So that is one thing you will have to compromise on. So what about the QC1 then? Well, it's the slow speed electric scooter from Honda, considering that its top speed is capped at 50 kmph, and you also get only one 1.5 kilowatt hour battery in this, which is fixed, and there is a charging port over there, which means you can charge it at home or at a charging station. But despite the smaller battery pack size, you still get a range of 80 kilometers in a single charge. This is of course the IDC range. By our calculations, and these are preliminary rough calculations from our time spent with the scooter, you should get about 65 kilometers in a single charge. Now, considering that this is a slow speed scooter, that kind of range is sort of okay, because you will not definitely be using it for your longer commutes or for your office commutes if they are over, let's say, 20-25 kilometers. This is mostly for maybe getting your groceries, for going to the market, maybe going to any local places. So for that, I think this range and this speed is okay. There are two modes in this, Eco and Standard, but again, I would not recommend using the Eco mode because it limits your top speed to around 30 kmph. Once you do put it in Standard mode, you get a slightly better acceleration response, and the top speed, like I said, goes up to 50 kmph, so that you can still use for medium range commute. But if you make the mistake of taking this on a highway or on an open stretch of road, you will be a moving roadblock for others. Now, if I talk about the suspension setup, well, it is still firm, just like the Activa E, but this one does a little better in terms of absorbing a lot of the undulations, so you will not be bouncing around on this much as compared to the Activa E. So that is definitely improvement. And even in terms of the weight distribution, I feel the Activa E does not do the best job. This one feels a little bit more compact, a little more taut overall, so I definitely had a little more confidence riding this scooter. Even the tires provide a good amount of grip. I have had no issues thus far, and overall I would say that it rides slightly better than the Activa E, and you also have a longer seat cushion, and in that regard this is a little bit better. Also, you get an under seat storage in this, about 26 liters, which is a big plus over the Activa E. So if you want to bring some groceries home or carry your helmet. This helmet couldn't quite fit into this luggage compartment, but if you have a smaller or a half-face helmet, then you can definitely fit it in there. In terms of braking, you get drum brakes on both ends. So obviously the braking performance is not the sharpest. The braking distance is also a little bit more than what I would have liked. But for normal usage, again, you will not have any big complaints with this. For the instrument cluster, you get this 5-inch LCD display, and this is a more basic unit compared to the Activa E, but still it has nice and big readouts. You also get 2 trip meters with this, and it shows you that if you want to start the vehicle, all you have to do is press the brake and press this button on the right side, and it will be in the drive mode as indicated by this indicator over here. Now you can also switch between the ride modes, and it is reflected in here, shows you the battery percentage, and there are a few other indicators in here. There is no connectivity in this, which I don't really mind, but yeah, it's a basic unit, but I think it gets the job done. So now let's answer the all-important question: is this the ideal version of an electric Activa, or is it this? Well, the answer lies somewhere in between. If you take all the best bits from these scooters and combine them together, then you would get the perfect version of an electric Activa, in my opinion. Right now, they fall slightly short, especially if you consider the range that they're providing and the lack of performance. The other electric scooters in the market have really taken the game to the next level, and Honda does have some catching up to do in that aspect. But what you do get with these scooters is a very nice modern minimalistic design, good build quality, and the reliability that comes along with the Honda badge. If you live somewhere where the swapping network is still not as robust, then you would want to go for the QC1. Yes, keep in mind that it will only do city runabouts for very short distances due to its limited top speed. But if you want to go longer distances, carry more speed, and you have the necessary swapping network around you, then you have the Activa E, which comes with a swappable battery, which is really good because you do not have to worry about sitting there and charging the scooter. You can swap the battery in about 5 minutes. It also takes away the problem of looking after the battery health, because that is on the company now. So altogether, while these are not the best products out there in the market, they are good starting points for Honda, and I would love to see how they make these two offerings better in the future. That's all for today from my side. I will see you again in the next video, but until then, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below if you have any questions, and subscribe to our channel if you've not done that already.